A Better Life, directed by Chris Weitz, who's has a very interesting career, somewhat sort of up and down. He's an actor and director. He made the American Pie movie, the first American Pie movie. He's made About a Boy, which I thought was actually quite an interesting adaptation of that book. He did the Golden Compass, the first Golden Compass movie, which I think is turning out to be the only Golden Compass movie because, of course, it tanked. Directed New Moon from the Twilight Saga. You remember New Moon?
I do.
Liked it?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I liked all of them. Really.
And now doing...
I quite like Golden Compass.
No, I don't at all.
The big disappointment is that The Subtle Knife is the best of the three books and looks, as you say, as though it's never going to happen.
Yeah, no, I thought that the film was all over the place. Anyway, just to be clear about that, you were wrong, I was right. So now he's made this sort of low-key...
I just let that go, you see.
I know, fine. Rather thoughtful drama about the invisible underclass in America of Mexican immigrants who are there without papers, upon whose work the economy basically stands, and yet who at any point could be deported and live in fear of the knock at the door, because they're not working in inverted commas legally. They don't have green cards and have immigration papers. So the story is that there's a man who's been working as a gardener for ages and ages and ages. He's attempting to make ends meet. He wants to buy a truck from his former employer, which would then mean that he can then become effectively self-employed. Meantime, he's looking after his young son, who is in danger of falling into truancy and is kind of a couple of steps away from, being lured by the local gang culture. This whole thing is seen within the overriding atmosphere that the father lives in a degree of fear of being found out, and the son is growing up in an atmosphere in which he is pretty much expected to go off the rails. Here's a clip with the son at a police station.
Why'd you hit the kid?
I don't know, man. It's not that big of a deal. Kids are getting down every day at my school. A lot worse than this.
You honestly expect me to believe this wasn't some kind of gang beef?
Man, you can believe whatever you want to believe.
Take your shirt off.
What?
Take your shirt off. I need to get pictures of your tattoos.
Yo, man, I ain't in a gang.
Come on. Indulge me.
Man, why you gotta make every Chicano kid out here
Hey,
a gang?
kid, just take your shirt off.
What'd I say?
Okay, tough guy. Who do you want us to contact at home about this? Your mom?
I ain't got no mom.
What about your father?
You can't reach him.
Why not?
He's working.
So the whole film centres around a terrific central performance by Damien Bashir, and it's funny that I've seen a couple of quotes on posters saying the first Oscar contender of the year, which is always worrying because whenever you hear that sort of thing, you think, oh, right, here we go, fine, it's worthy. People are saying that because they think of it as a worthy movie. And when you hear about the subject matter, it may seem like it's a worthy subject, which often means, yes, but it's not, it's not that gripping as a piece of drama. In fact, funnily enough, it reminded me to some extent of the Wim Wenders film End of Violence, which has a subplot in it in which one of the characters, I think it's Bill Pullman's character, has to disappear in LA. And the way he does it is that he just goes undercover amongst the Mexican gardening community, and suddenly he becomes invisible. Nobody sees him anymore. So the film has a very sort of solid and really important story to tell about an invisible underclass upon whom the economy depends. But like all the best of these kind of dramas, it doesn't feel like it's telling you a political or a social message. It feels like a drama about characters to whom you can relate. It feels like a story about a father and a son. I mean, I noticed that the tagline for the poster is "Every father wants more for his son," and the poster is almost deliberately avoiding sort of suggesting that actually what's going on here is a social drama, about social underclasses and about economic instability and about immigration. It doesn't say any of that. It says what it is a drama about father and son, which at its heart it is. But in the way of the best of those things, it is that, and that therefore enables the wider story to be told in a way which doesn't feel in any way intrusive. The other thing about it is that it's got a very interesting pacing. It starts off being paced very languorously and very sort of taking its time. But as the action proceeds, because the truck gets stolen, and suddenly the father is left with this terrible situation, which his truck has been taken away. He's invested everything in it. He can't go to the police because he can't go to the authorities for recourse. So what's he going to do? And in fact, when it needs to, the movie shifts up a gear and turns into this really quite, at one point, quite knuckle-biting, not adventure movie, but it's very, very tense, very, very edgy, very kind of gripping drama. And it was at that point that I realised actually the achievement of this is not only has it managed to engage me with these characters and to tell this story in a way which is subtle and well done and beautifully, but I have to say beautifully played, but it's also managed to draw me into the drama to the point. I mean, I've seen a bunch of action adventure movies recently, and there's a sequence in the middle of this that is every bit as gripping as the most gripping action adventure I've seen, this year. So I thought it was a real revelation. I think Chris Weitz is an interesting guy because the fact that he goes from helming these great big budget, incredibly mainstream, I mean, really, really mainstream movies to doing this stuff which is much more thoughtful, much more provocative, much more offbeat, much more, I suppose independently spirited, means that he's versatile. I struggle to find a directorial style for him. As somebody who sort of believes to some extent in the old auteur filmmaking school, which says that directors have a style. I mean, I don't know what the overriding style of Chris Weitz is, other than actually you can't expect one movie to look like the next movie. But believe me, A Better Life is a very, very gripping drama and moving and involving. And underneath that, it's got an important story to tell. But the really important thing about it is that is underneath the drama.